In this video, we're going to take a look at the style god himself, Kevin Backstrom, in his 2021 X Games Real Snow part. Kevin Backstrom is one of my favorite riders of all time, and that's because he has this clean style, he performs his tricks to absolute perfection, and just looks so cool while doing it. So we're going to go and take a look at his snowboarding, break it down so we can hopefully glean some of his techniques and bring it into our own riding, increasing our style, and hopefully making us ride a little bit more like him. Because those tweaks, those pops, absolutely money. Let's go and get right into it, starting with this massive front free. So this front free that he's doing is really interesting because he's using a stalefish grab, and this has a lot of changes it does to your frontside 360. It really goes and speeds up your spin as you go and kick out your legs into that stalefish grab position. This lets you go and get a lot of tweak, but it also makes it so you don't need to snap very hard. So let's see how he's going and approaching this. First, the side hit is massive. Huge jump, massive lip, so you're going to need to be really ready and controlled. And the thing he's doing here that's really interesting is look at his arm position. He's throwing his spin early and holding this fully spun position. So he's actually not generating almost any rotational energy. We can just see like a little bit of leaning open with the hips, but he's not actually snapping this with any rotational force. This is because the stalefish goes and utilizes counter rotation right off at the start of a spin. And because of this, it really goes and speeds it up and it sort of whips you going. So if you try to do a frontside 360 normally and add a stalefish grab with that poke, you're going to over rotate to 540 pretty much every single time. Cheat way to go and do a 540, you usually land heel heavy, but pro tip. The next thing he's doing is, because he doesn't need to worry about rotation, he's making sure he gets the best snap possible by maintaining the same angle as the takeoff the whole way up the lip and maintaining that tail pressure. See how his board is making contact the whole time on the lip? This is increasing his control and increasing his height by a substantial amount. So we can really see it here. His whole board is angled. And you might notice something. His body's leaned back and he's taking over that back foot. This is possible because of the tweak and axis of rotation. As he tweaks his legs out, it's going and first speeding up his rotation, second stalling out his maximum rotation force, and third, it's going and kicking his legs up to him. This is making it so he's doing like the perfect amount of cork you want to be doing on a front free, where your head's down, board's angled, but you're not going over your head. If you go and start flipping more than this on a frontside 360, it's going to be really hard to control the rotation because you're going to be doing more of a flip axis. And another really interesting thing here is, look at how early he finishes the frontside 360. He's still halfway in the air, but he's already spun the full 360. So how does he not over rotate this? And that's with counter rotation again. He lets his upper body come and pull forward. So see how his chest is landing completely forward like this? This isn't to brace for the landing or because he's seeing where he's going. Well, yes, his head's looking forward because he needs to be looking forward to land a frontside 360 on a feature like this. The reason why there's so much rotation here is because he needed to let his upper body keep rotating so his legs could go and stay rotated at 360. So let's go and take a look at this with that in mind. So he lets go of the grab, pretty much rotated completely 360. He needs to rotate a bit more than 360 because it's an angled riding, so he is around 30 degrees more of rotation. And as he goes and lets go of a grab, he lets his upper body come forward. This forward motion, when you go and rotate your upper body one way, your legs will need to rotate the other way to compensate. That's how counter rotation works. So he's using this to go and stall out his rotation, going and holding the legs here and letting that upper body continue that momentum. I wish we had 120 frames per second here because it would be so sick to see it with every frame. But that's the technique he's using. He's using a strong pop on that front free, going and hitting the grab, and then he's going and using counter rotation to control the rotation, making sure he doesn't over rotate. A very good way to approach a frontside 360 on a massive feature where you're trying to not go and overdo it. Now we gotta pivot to this massive shifty, and the crazy part about this clip is the landing. This landing is less than a board length and he's going so high. I don't know how high this is. Definitely over 15 feet though. Like, this is massive. So how is he going and getting this kind of precision and this kind of control on this big of a jump? First, let's take a look at the lip. So the lip here isn't nearly as the lip here isn't nearly as kicky as the last one. And we can tell that because look at the angle of his board coming off. Kevin Backstrom's a good enough rider that he won't have his nose coming on a higher angle or lower angle when he's trying to do a standard pop off a jump. his board will flex up if he does something like an ollie, but for features like this, you're trying to keep your board in a straight line and strong. This is because you get way more power just going and pushing pressure through your board than you will trying to get it to flex up. So by keeping it strong and keeping it sturdy and keeping it in contact, that's how you're getting controlled power, because as soon as you start letting that board flex, it's going to make it so your pop point is now based on your board position and not the end of the lip, making it hard to control. So that's what first thing is doing, is making sure he's maintaining contact. This one, you can see that he's still weighted over his back foot to maintain that tail pressure off the lip, but he's shifting his upper body back forward. When you go and maintain tail pressure like this, you need to have your hips slightly shift back in order to keep that tail in contact. And then to counter that, we go and pull the upper body forward, and that makes it so your center of mass is still set over the center of your board. So you can do all this twisting, coming up more forward of the upper body, but you need to make sure that you're not overdoing it and you're keeping your weight still centered. Next, his chest is opening. His chest is opening right here for a very particular reason, and that is trying to go and preemptively angle his upper body into the landing. If he took off completely squared here, what would happen is he'd land very toe heavy into that landing because his board wouldn't rotate, or he wouldn't have his weight naturally shift over enough. So he's doing that to preemptively put the angle, and he's also doing a shifty. But watch this for the shifty. Oh, he actually hits a grab and does a little indie shifty here. Pretty sick. But before shifting, even though his chest is open here, he pulls his chest back to neutral and then pushes it out onto the shifty, really emphasizing the importance of waiting to shifty. His chest is open. It'd be really easy to pop a shifty here, but he doesn't because of that lessened control. Instead, he fully pops up, gets on the angle he wants to be on, pulls back to a neutral position, then grabs, then shifties it out. And even though this is a big jump, you want to be doing this process on every single jump. This is a big reason why he can get so stylish on these grabs, because at this point here, he's completely in control. He can go and grab, tweak however he wants because he doesn't need to really readjust. So he pulls back and look at his upper body, not shifting at all. So this whole jump was 100% success. He could do anything he wanted right after this point. Right here, he's back neutral. He's on the arc of the jump, pulling back into the landing. So he can just grab, shifty out, and just being completely in control. And that's where a lot of his style comes from. It's just that finesse, that control off the lip that lets you go and really get styly. So this one, he gets a little more loose, a little more arm flaily. So let's see why that is. Let's see if we can go and coach Kevin Backstrom here, how he could go and get this a little more stylish with less arm flare. Well, I think it's more indication that still arms isn't necessarily the only determining factor in a sick clip. So he's riding with his chest open. This is a good riding position, and you'll see a lot of people riding like this. Let's see if he's landing heel heavy or anything to go and counter that. No, he's okay a little bit. So see how this jump sort of angling to the heel edge? So this is telling me that he's going and preemptively opening his upper body again, just to go and get preemptively into that angle. So see how his chest is open towards that jump? He's landing, and then he's already in that position because he needs to hold that position for the pop. And this one, he's popping with his chest open and immediately doing the shifty, completely going against everything I said in the last clip. So let's see why that is really quick. So his chest is open here completely, and he goes and rotates into shifty as the same time he pulls up his legs, where the other one he went and waited into after hit the grab. So this is why he's able to go and get the grab sooner, get a more consistent tweak, but it's also why he's needing to go and shift a little bit more to rebalance. So see right here, his body weight is set slightly over the heel edge, and it's not quite as over the toes, and that's why he's doing a little bit of an arm circle and landing a little bit not in control. It's also because it looks like it's a very sloped landing here, so he might be doing this on purpose in order to go and hit that landing slope a little bit better. This one's a little hard to tell because we can't see the landing angles, but what I think this shows is you can go and preemptively have your chest open to do a shifty, but it does make it a little bit more technical. So here, he has a very narrow landing. He has a very important purpose of like a position he needs to be on the next one. So he's not worrying as much about getting a strong pop. See how his legs are staying a little bit of bent in the torso. He's not fully extending. He's not getting that full pop. And if you don't fully pop, it's really hard to get maximum control. So that's why he's needing to rebalance a little bit in the air here. That's his arm swirling. That's making it so his board's coming back in. And then as he lands, he pulls straight into that heel edge position. And then since he's already turning heel side and he's going sort of to the left, he's matching that momentum and using it to go and assist that shifty. And then he's landing to a banked here. Not that landing's probably perfect. Kevin, I'm sorry for ever doubting you for even a millisecond. So here, just a massive frontside 180. Let's go and break this down a little bit because this is a really cool way to go and see how people actually do 180s at like a high level. If you don't know, frontside 180s are one of the least done tricks in snowboarding. I haven't done one off of like a bigger than a 10-foot jump. So if you pull out a frontside 180 and it's legit like this one, people are going to be stoked. So first, he's taking off a lot like his shifty that in the last video, with chest preemptively opened, and he's holding that open position. So he's not really generating much rotational energy, just enough to make sure that he's like rotating enough for that shifty. From there, he's using, well, from there, he's just holding that shifty position, but this is working right now because look at both of his arm positions. For both angled towards the tail of his snowboard. Normally, if you're counter rotating, you want to have your arms like cross the other way because you're trying to pull it back. But instead, he's pulling them towards the same side he's rotating. So that's making it so this little bit of shifty momentum is carrying him around for the spin. But it's not enough to get the full spin around. And that's where he's utilizing counter rotation again. So because his arms are over here, and he's only rotated around 90, he has 90 more to rotate. So what does he do? He goes and pulls his arms back across his body. See how his arms are now pointing this way? So his arms are pointing over here, pulls him back across the body, finishing rotation with his snowboard. Because this front one's on a side hit so hard to control, he deemed that it's not very smart to try to rotate it like a spin, so instead he's using a shifty, continuing the rotation with the arms, and then going and using another shifty to finish the spin off. So this is basically a double shifty or a continuation shifty. Or maybe just a delayed, stalled out like frontside shifty 180 where he went and just didn't go and use that counter rotation into very late. And probably one of the sickest front ones ever done. Maybe the sickest front one. Let me know in the comments if you know a sicker one, but that one is going to be hard to beat. Here, he's doing a frontside Rodeo 5, and frontside Rodeo 5s are a really cool trick that I'm looking forward to going and talking about a little bit here. I haven't actually done this one on snow, but I tried a few in the bag in Japan, and they make a lot of sense, but I'm scared going upside down, so have not committed. So first, let's look at the takeoff. Wow. So look at how sturdy and straight he's staying on his takeoff. I learned that you can do this trick if you have your upper body completely hinged forward, and when you're throwing your upper body down, it does the trick. But Kevin Backstorm's here for max pop, max control, and if you throw down with your body collapsed, it's going to really absorb a lot of that takeoff. So what does Kevin Backstorm do? He goes and holds his strong, tall posture and goes and rotates his shoulder down towards his foot. So we're doing the same thing, but he's making sure to go and wait to drop his upper body into that position until after he takes off. That's actually something I'm going to have to try out in my own riding. That's really cool. Because that's the problem I've been having with like these flips and stuff off the lips, is I know the positions you want to be in with the body, but I usually enter them too soon because I'm nervous. So Kevin Backstorm just really showing the benefits of being patient, getting that takeoff, and trusting that that upper body position works, even if you're not in it in the maximum extended way. From there, this trick's complete. He's done. You're blind for a little bit like you would before Wildcat, but you just pull around. And at this point, you have no rotation on this trick. But the difference with having your shoulder throw down like that is your chest is open, your back arm's pulling. Because of this, you'll be able to use counter rotation again. So see how he's like just in a really bad Wildcat axis here? But his upper body's rotated, and that's letting him go and pull those legs around, counter rotation style. So you're seeing a trend in this video part, and it's that he's really liking this frontside shifty takeoff, really liking to utilize counter rotation in his snowboarding. And that's what you'll find with a lot of these pro snowboarders and every snowboarder in general. People have things they're good at and things that they're going and working on. And you want to go and emphasize those points when trying to film a video part like this, because you're just trying to make the best part possible. So you're going to do the things that you're absolutely best at. And Kevin Backstorm is one of the best at stylish counter rotation. So here, one sec, is this switch or regular? I have to go back and check. I'm bad with people's foot positioning. So this is for sure regular, right? Let's go back to the straighters quick. Yeah, so he's regular footed. I think. You know what? Doesn't matter. If it's hard to tell if he's pros, if they're switch or goofy. Anyways, back one, he's doing a lot like a switchback one, which is why I was sort of bringing it up. But this back one is really cool. See how he's going and popping off up the tail? Again, emphasizing that takeoff. Again, emphasizing keeping the shoulders. And let's go and talk about this a little bit. Backside 180s are really important to not have your upper body rotate too much because you need to keep your spot down under you. So see how his head is sort of leaned over with his upper body? This is letting him spot all the way under, and watch how that will go and track throughout the rotation. So as he goes and travels forward, his head is staying in that position. So even though his upper body's rotating a little bit more, his head's hardly moved at all. And this is really crucial on 180s, 360s. Every trick, minimal head position's ideal. So for this trick, he's not even worrying about rotating. Instead, he's just having his upper body rotate and continue that rotation. Oh, that's so sick. And from there, his body's rotated completely 180, maximum, and he's on the perfect arc of a jump coming to the landing. So what does he have to do? He just counter rotates. And look at how his body just rotates around his spot. This is why this trick's so sick, and this would probably be pretty consistent for him because of that spot. Oh, so cool. All right, so he's coming in, head spotted down here, and instead of having the head rotate looking around the shoulders, trying to move it, instead he just goes and keeps it down there and pulls it even more. And he can just see the whole way. It's like he's not even doing a blind trick, and then he lands looking forward. You can land looking forward on stuff like backside 180s if you go and spot them this way, preemptively rotating the upper body and utilizing counter rotation. But if you're trying to spin them normal with rotation, you really want to use that blind landing to kill that rotational momentum. Here, another shifty, stylish, cool. Well, let's break down this POW landing a little bit. We already know quite a bit about the shifty at this point. So how's he landing in POW? First, he's staying crouched up into right before he's meeting the lip. And see how he's not holding a straight leg position? He's only straightening out as soon as he's making contact. This is going to be more powerful and explosive. Ideally, you're not trying to hold extended positions in snowboarding for a long duration of time. So as he's coming down, he's extending and meeting the snow. And what's really important for his POW landing is look at his positioning. First, he needs to make sure he's landing with his nose up. To do this, he's going and having his hips slightly shift towards that back foot, making it so he's landing a bit tail heavy. But to counter this, he's going and shifting his upper body forward. So this is making it so, again, his weight is set over the balls of his feet. Same principle we were using on the takeoffs, he's using right here on the landing. Arms coming up, I don't think there's any reason why arms coming up is important here. I know it's done a lot. I'd be interested to hear people's thoughts on that because I know my arms come up when I land stuff and I'm going big and you're sort of getting it free falling feeling a lot. Yeah, I'm not too sure on that one. I'll have to think about it more. And this POW is just so deep, just absolutely ate. So yeah, just same takeoff principles on the landing and POW. That's pretty cool. One less thing to learn if you can use the same principles on takeoffs and landings. Here, really sick. Ooh, really sick front sev. Oh, and that spot back the other way. So front sevs and POW are pretty tricky because you can't really use the constant spot like you would normally. So first, what does he do? He makes sure to not over-rotate his upper body, and he's going and making sure that tail is maintaining contact as long as possible, and he wants a slight bit of cork, so he's tilting his whole upper body off axis slightly. That's how you cork spins, not really by throwing them up, but by tilting your whole body towards the axis you want to be corking on. So this takeoff is absolutely perfect, and look at his head position. Nice and forward. He's not trying to look around and rush that spot. That spot will come even on smaller jumps. So from here, he's spotting forward, eyes locked on the same point, 360, and at this point is where he does something really cool. Actually, so his spots are changes from being underneath to over top here. I've never done a front seven on this axis, so I can't really visualize what that's like, but this is just done, I think, because of the axis rotation that he threw himself on. Because his board is rotating, that rotation is setting him so as he keeps his spot forward, his body's rotating on that flip axis, but his head is pointed at the same spot here as here. What this is telling me is his head isn't determining his axis rotation at all here, and instead he's just going and holding that constant spot and going and letting his body continue that natural axis that he set off the lip of the jump. And then from there, he's going and utilizing counter rotation at the end. Why is he using counter rotation? Because he's rotating at 720, he has a lot more rotational energy. And because of that, he wants to go and slow it down Counter rotation, while it speeds up your spin, it also slows down your maximum rotation velocity, and that's why he's coming into the landing with less impact. So he's using the blind landing principles for this. See how his head spot here, and then it's shifting as he travels past that spot point to there. But he's confident that he's using enough counter rotation, and he's landing powder, what also helps to kill rotation, that he's looking up from the blind landing early and looking forward. But that one, he's actually using the blind landing just like you would in the park, just making sure to utilize counter rotation so he can land looking forward a little bit better. And then double Rodeo 9. I'm not qualified to talk about this one. I'm sorry. I haven't ever done this one, and I don't know if I'm planning to anytime soon. But basically, it's the same motion, and then you just pull it. So I guess you would throw it less like a flip, knowing that you have more rotational energy to bring it around. Oh, so cool. And we'll end it off with a backside 360. And this backside 360 is probably the best example that you don't need to rush your grabs in order to get a sick grab. So first, let's see the in run. So this in run and takeoff is more proper than you'd find on more side hits. And because of that, he can take a more proper jumping position. The big thing we can tell from this is see how his hand's not dragging the snow? He's actually able to keep his torso high enough that he's staying tall enough to not let that hand drag. And as he comes off the lip, what is he doing? He's just going and matching this angle, and he's not trying to extend. See how he's not popping or anything? So he's holding a little bit of edge pressure and just riding off this edge. This is because he doesn't care about his pop. This feature is massive, and he doesn't care about drifting a little bit. You don't need to worry about drifting too much if you're not trying to like build up bigger spins. It's not as big of a deal in powder, especially if you have an open landing. So the thing he is focused on is preemptively positioning his upper body. So this position looks bent over, weak. His upper mass is far away from his legs. Doesn't seem too proper. But what happens is as soon as his legs pop up and catch up, he's now in the exact same position, maybe even a little bit more bent over, but now it goes and has his center of balance set. So even though he lost this exact center of balance point for a millisecond here, and he would have, if he held his position too long, he would have started digging in and falling over. Because he only held it for a bit, it's okay. And he, with this position, he preemptively set his upper body into the spot he needs to be for the spin, what's going to let him get so much more control and balance. Because if you try to go and fully pop up and extend a spin, you're going to need time to pull everything back together, pull everything back into control. But instead, what does he do? He goes and pops with this bent down position, and this has another sneaky purpose that I just noticed. Look at where he's spotting. Because he's going and taking off with his upper body so down, it's making it so he can spot underneath his legs, allowing him to spot the backside 360 a lot sooner. What's so crucial when judging a backside 360 off a big feature. Then he's just going and making sure that back arm is leading the rotation. Even on a feature this big, back arm's leading the spin. Coming around, and look at how long he waits to grab. Doesn't go and force the grab. He's like, okay, I'm controlling my axis rotation, got it. Now I grab. Then he goes and lets go, and uses a little bit of counter rotation to finish it off. Doesn't need much, instead bracing for the landing. Truly amazing snowboarder, one of the best guys to watch. Let me know what rider we should cover next. I'm loving these videos. I'm learning so much while doing them, so thanks everyone for the support on this kind of content. Let me know who I should cover next, and yeah, have a good one.